Hello, everyone. We're back. I'm back today, and I'm doing a month of, I guess, technically, in theory, solo podcasts, except I'm not because I'm going to drag people on, kicking and screaming as I have done today, just to fill the space so that no one has to listen to me because, I don't want to listen to me. So. And I'm joined. Do you want to introduce yourself? Tell everyone who you are, what you do.
Yeah, my name is TJ Zwarich. I'm the editor-in-chief of agentsoffandom.com. We cover all in TV, movies, and gaming, anime. We were Canada's fastest growing independent outlet in 2022, and it's been really a fun ride. We started with just a podcast and kind of a blog, build it into a full-blown site. We got a team of 30 people now, 5 podcasts on the network. It's been a lot of fun.
Yes, and also these are the people who I've decided, as of the recent shift, to basically try to steal ideas from, like in terms of structure. So should take that as a compliment, as
Big
I
time.
try
Hey,
to
big time compliment. That's
as
I told that to first time guests as we were starting up, so I appreciate that.
yeah, we're adding shows to our own channel, and I've made a website which I'm too lazy to buy a domain for, but it still exists, under the Wix subdomain. But I basically just said, hey, what you guys are doing is cool. I want to do that too. So, with different emphasis points and stuff, but still I take a lot of inspiration from you guys, and I appreciate what you're doing. Also, again, I love having Canadians who are like living in this industry on to talk to, because there's great Americans and other country people, but Canada's still the best. So
It's pretty
there's
awesome,
still
and it's given us a chance too to do some really cool things because there's so many less people to compete with than there are in the States. The population just so much smaller. So in a very limited amount of time, we've been able to, just in the past few months, got to go to the Canadian premiere of Guardians of the Galaxy, do some interviews there, got to go to the Canadian premiere of Little Mermaid, do the red carpet there. And then just this past weekend, a couple of our people, Ryan and Aisha, they went to the CCYAA celebrity basketball tournament in Toronto, celebrating Asian excellence, hosted by Jeremy Lin and Simu Liu. And Ryan and Aisha both got a chance to do that, and they had a blast. Got to go to the press conference where Simu was there and a bunch of other people. So we've gotten to do some really cool things just because of being in Canada. It's been pretty awesome.
Yeah, I've loved watching. Again, this is kind of me being, I guess not nerdy, but like being a little bit of like a fan of yours, and also the movie podcast. We both kind of risen together in like this astronomical fashion, and it's been fun to watch from like a distance. But yeah, you guys, Canada's killing it. You guys, that's what it is. So
It is. We're on the way. We're on the come up. Canada's here to stay in the comic book nerddom industry.
yeah, I was talking to someone today actually, and I was like, the Canadian creators, they're just getting stronger and better, and you're starting to see it come out, and it's great. So, and now what you also do, or you did, I don't know if you still do it. You did fantasy analysis. So tell me a little bit about that,
Yeah.
or tell
So
everyone a little bit about that.
I do fantasy sports content for a website called rotogrinders.com. Daily fantasy stuff. I actually just started diving into the season-long fantasy realm. I wrote a tight end. I wrote a tight end. I wrote up an article about the best fantasy tight ends for this upcoming NFL season up on rotogrinders.com. So usually just daily fantasy stuff, whatever's in season, mostly NBA, MLB, and then of course NFL is mostly my big one that's going to be coming up here. But I've been going to them for daily fantasy content for years while I play on things like FanDuel and DraftKings. And then I had a few big wins and I wanted to dive into the content creating industry and basically just reached out and said, hey guys, can you got a spot for me? And then they did. I worked my way up and now I'm hosting shows and stuff like that. And it's been a lot of fun.
I'm gonna run an idea past you a little bit later on about something which I'm meaning to tell you or ask you about, but I haven't had a chance, so I will do that at the end. I feel like anyone who's watching this, who's seen anything that we've done, knows exactly what I'm going to talk about, but it's okay because, anyways, now because I know you have an hour and I am someone who gets very off track, especially when I have new fun people to talk to. we do have to actually talk about things because, I was really hoping this would be like very like, dead news week, but then, Hugh Jackman has to be around. And so, nothing can really be dead. So we have to actually talk about things. I'm wearing a Deadpool shirt intentionally. I don't know if you can see it, but, there's a Deadpool shirt intentionally because we've got some Deadpool pictures. And I don't know, there's this dude who plays a Canadian Wait, Wolverine is Canadian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. I was like, am I not completely misremembering? No, he is.
No,
So
you
a
nailed it.
Canadian
You're good.
character. Yeah, a Canadian character. I know my Canadians. It's a Canadian character, and then obviously Deadpool played by a Canadian, and one of them is wearing a yellow suit. So I'm very excited about that one. So what were your first thoughts when you saw the picture?
It looked pretty damn great, and like my only, if I were to work hard to find some qualms, it'd be like, oh, I'd love for him to not have sleeves. But my initial thought was the same as I feel like what a lot of people are saying on the internet now. Like, those sleeves are coming off throughout the movie. They want to keep some teases for us. They're not going to just show us everything right out of the gate. So those sleeves are going to be getting ripped off in some comedic way, and we're going to get the jacked Wolverine with the arm hair coming out. And then, of course, it'd be cool if they found ways to make him just look maybe a little shorter than Deadpool. But that's one of the cool things about this being Deadpool too, right? Is he can make some joke when they're standing next to each other and just be like, aren't you supposed to be like 5'3"? And then all of a sudden, bang, you're done. You're able to move past that one just like that. And so my biggest takeaway was just that we've been watching Hugh as Wolverine for the longest time. Obviously, most of us are X-Men fans, either from comics or X-Men the animated series, either fresh in the 90s when it was coming out as on Disney Plus if you're a brand new fan, or just catching reruns throughout the years. And so to finally see him in that full yellow suit, it looks pretty incredible. And I'm sure we're going to get him throwing on a mask and taking off the sleeves at some point in the movie.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I think my one issue with it, actually, before I kind of go to that, I do need to plug two things because you mentioned two things, and now I kind of have to do the thing here. But we did actually interview the guy who voices Beast in X-Men the animated series, and the amazing Canadian who voices Kitty Pryde in X-Men Evolution. So those interviews exist because we love Canadians here. So
hell yeah,
those interviews exist.
We talked to Winor Zan, a fellow Canadian as well, who was the voice of Rogue.
Yep. See, Canadians are great. Anyways, back to Wolverine. I think my probably issue is that I think the yellow's too bright, and I understand comics and it is in the comics, but I don't know. I'm sure you've seen the multitude of fan ads since the beginning of time with the yellow suit and how the yellow is always kind of a little bit darker. And I don't know how to translate on screen when you're actually seeing it in motion, because I think still images, I'm sure this, obviously, still images are like literally can be the worst thing for a promotion. Like you look Captain Marvel, for example, right? Which I think is probably the peak of this, which is when you see the image, it looks awful. But then when it's in motion, it looks so much better. And I think this is one of those things where, at least from a still image, it looks way too bright. But in action, it could be significantly better because still images suck for a movie, which is a movie.
Yeah, I think all we can really take away is that we get Hugh in the yellow suit and a general picture of what it'll look like, because I'm sure the final product, when we're seeing it in the movie, is going to look very different.
Yeah, and again, you obviously this, but pictures suck when it comes to understanding the details of costumes. So, again, I was overjoyed about this. I was at work and I just kind of I was like, oh my God. And then everyone was like, wait, what happened? And I was like, don't worry about it. You're not going to understand. But it's okay because we're getting Wolverine in the yellow suit, and I am so excited because this is like one of those things which, I think we've all been asking for since the dawn of time. And we're finally getting it, which is crazy. I'm still in shock that it's happening.
Just like, obviously there was kind of the reason why, and I'll throw another plug in the middle of this as well. The reason why they don't have those suits in the original X-Men movies is because Bryan Singer, who was working on those projects, and he sucks, like specifically said, like, no, hell no, I don't want to be doing that stuff. And there's people like Kevin Feige, who was working on that project as a young Marvel worker at the time. and David Hayter, who we got to interview for up at agentsofphantom.com when I was at Edmonton Expo. He is the voice actor for Solid Snake in Metal Gear Solid, but he was also the writer of X-Men and X2 when a bunch of stuff had to get rewritten and stuff like that. So he also was like a fan of the suits, but Bryan Singer just shut that stuff down and even had the gall to make Cyclops say, "What do you want? Some yellow spandex?" Making jokes in those movies. And so getting a chance to see not just Wolverine, but maybe hopefully some other potential cameos in their legit real X suits would be pretty cool as well.
Oh, we'll talk about cameos in a second. I got a whole list of them. So the other thing was I think if memory's not like completely wrong here, I think First Class was the closest to the original X-Men suits we've gotten that don't look terrible, because like Dark Phoenix, I know technically we got them, but I'm sorry, they looked awful.
So weird in Dark Phoenix.
Yeah. They tried their best, but I think First Class was probably the best and closest version to those original suits. If I'm not completely forgetting something, because of the X-Men movies, there's a lot of them and they have 700 costumes, but I'm pretty sure I'm right about that.
Yeah.
And First Class also being the best X-Men movie, so that's not a surprise to me. Is this a controversial take?
Days of Future Past clears for me.
No, I can't. I mean, I think the problem with Days of Future Past is the fact that then they just downgraded in actors halfway through, and that kind of messed with me, because I don't know if I can. I don't know. I thought First Class was great. X2 was okay, and X-Men was. I think X-Men and like the first one and First Class are the best too, but
the early X-Men's are great for the 2000s, and yeah, I'm not crapping on First Class or anything like that. To me, Days of Future Past is among the top tier of superhero movies.
I've kind of blended the Days of Future Past, Apocalypse, and Dark Phoenix into one. Was Quicksilver in Days of Future Past?
Yeah, that's where he's introduced.
Okay, yeah. That's why I don't
like. And he saves all the. Or wait, that's not the one where he saves all the people from the building. But that's where he's introduced, and that's how they break.
No, that's the kitchen scene, right? Where he's doing the thing.
The kitchen scene. That's the first one with Quicksilver. Yeah. But to me, I think that's probably my second favorite. I think that's
Quicksilver.
To me, the second best non-MCU superhero movie behind The Dark Knight. That's my second favorite, I think.
That might actually be a very hot take. I feel
the Spider-Man movies have a lot of like nostalgia, but I think like Days of Future Past, that it would be like number 2 for me behind Dark Knight. Outside of MCU.
That's a hot. Yeah, obviously, because I think MCU is still a different tier, despite what people say. You can't compare the two like that and anything else. I think in terms of X-Men movies, I think the most underrated one, or at least like the Fox Universe movies, I still think that first Fantastic Four movie is so underrated.
It's fun.
It's not good, but it's so much fun.
It's good for it's fine for the 2000s, and it's a lot of fun. I'm with you there. I really enjoy it.
Like, I look at that and I'm like, if that was coming out and you look at like, the Batman and Robin, around that time, clearly, there's a tone, and the vibes in that movie are so much better than Batman and Robin. Like, it's like, if you're looking at those two movies together, it's like one is clearly better than the other. And I think that is probably the best Fantastic Four movie we've ever gotten. So, Yeah,
that's true. At this point it is. I'm sure it'll be eclipsed in a few years, but to this point, it's definitely the best we've done.
It's not the best live action version, because we did get that. Actually, no, I'm trying to think. Was the first version of it a movie? The first live action thing, was that a movie or was that a show? Like the way the 90s one.
Yeah, I think that was a show.
Okay, good. Because then I was going to say it's not the best live action Fantastic Four, but it's the best live action movie Fantastic Four, which is, and all the anime stuff is better, but we'll leave that for another day. So speaking of cameos, there's one thing which was announced, and then there were all the rumors, right? We've had rumors for about, a few months now, or maybe more than that, about who could show up in this movie and what this movie is going to be about. So I think everyone's kind of come to a similar conclusion to me, maybe, but I think everyone's kind of saying this will probably be some version of Deadpool kills the Fox X-Men slash some of the other movie universe type films. Right? Is that just me, or is
So
that
yeah,
being kind of a
that's a
general?
pretty heavy rumor. I personally am in the camp that I think it's going to be more so, and it could be a combo of these two things. It could absolutely be somewhere in the middle, but I think it's going to be something like the TVA is killing the Foxverse as Deadpool is jumping through it. That's kind of like and all of these other different Marvel universes of the past. Like, I don't know if it's going to be physically him. I'm almost envisioning Deadpool and Hugh Jackman's Wolverine are going to be on a multiversal road trip as the TVA is trying to pair stuff and they're interacting with them and fighting different people.
See, I still believe, and I don't know, but I feel like the TVA is gonna be because I don't know how I don't know what's going on with the TVA in terms of like what they actually are because they were technically Kangs, like shadow organization or like the organization shadow ran, but now I don't know what they are in terms of timelines because if you talk about MCU timelines at this point, I think you're
Still
probably just
that,
shooting in
we
the
just
dark.
don't know to what level, and because at this point we know there's thousands of gangs throughout there, right? So it's like we don't really know how it's being run, but we know they got their fingerprints on it.
And we don't even know if the Jonathan Majors Kang is going to be the Kang of the future because there's other stuff going on over there. So I think there are still some questions there, which they have to figure out. And I don't know if they'll figure that out. They've figured that out yet. So it'll be interesting for that. But I was thinking more that they were trying to save the multiverse because that was kind of their whole thing, right? They don't want people to mess up timelines, and I think Deadpool is going to go on a killing rampage through different universes, and they're going to try to stop him, much like how Loki, they had to capture Loki because he was an aberration in the timeline.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing too, is like they're probably going to be hopping through places and it's going to be causing incursions and it's going to be causing issues because we even know based on how Deadpool 2 ended, that's what he was doing. He was multiverse hopping with Cable's device. And so I'm assuming they're going to be pissed off at him from that and from making those changes and bringing his girl back from the dead. And so I'm guessing that's going to be where it starts off. And so based on that, I feel like he's going to be immediately against the TVA. And so I almost wonder if he almost teams up with these people a little bit at times, like whether it be Fantastic Four, X-Men characters, Daredevil and Elektra, whoever. I think we're going to see a lot more different Marvel universes in this one. And let's remember, this isn't just another Deadpool movie. This is MCU now. So I think we're going to get things interwoven into our own canon as well, whether who knows if maybe somebody like America Chavez pops up if we're hanging out in the 838 universe a while again. I think we're going to see some of that type of thing weaved in as well.
So now then, this is a question which I feel like I could get in a lot of trouble if it's taken out of context. But I don't think this stuff enough through to care about that right now. So I'm gonna ask it anyways. Of all the characters we've kind of seen with the Fox movies, and I think Daredevil was Sony. Was it or was it Fox?
Yeah, I don't remember. Like between Fox, Sony, and Universal, I can never remember which one is all owned by which. I just remember Fox's X-Men, Sony's Spider-Man.
And Fantastic Four is also Fox, but yeah. Yeah, and I know Hulk obviously and Namor were Universal. But yeah, no, I think that I'm gonna use Daredevil for this question just kind of as part of the Fox universe because we know Elektra's gonna be in the movie. So I'm gonna just say this. So of all these kind of characters, which one will you have the most satisfaction seeing Deadpool kill on screen if that's what it turns out to be? Like, which one of them will be like, oh my God, thank God he's finally going to kill this person so we don't have to ever hear about this person again?
It would be, I think the funniest one would be Channing Tatum's Gambit. I think that would be like the most entertaining scene to see him do. But for me, the most fun one, I think, in terms of just who I'd like to see get killed on screen the most, it would be the Miles Teller Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm. Fan Four stick, exactly. That was actually that one, or it was just Jean Grey from the new X-Men movies.
Yeah,
Because
fair.
I mean, nothing against the actress. I don't know how much of a script she was given, but I think that's a character.
The audacity of them to go back to the same person for that movie who wrote the first Dark Phoenix movie, who wrote X3, which was just had some
we
really
can't call
great
it we can't call Last Stand a Dark Phoenix movie. We can't call Last Stand a Dark Phoenix movie because I don't know if you've seen that movie. It's not a Dark Phoenix story, okay? I've read the comics.
And then so they went back to the same guy who did that one. And it's like, why? But whatever.
Well, it's Fox. That's what we asked every other day when they did anything. Why? But the other thing I was going to ask you is, now the one cameo no one talks about, which would check off every MCU fan's boxes, by the way, is if they had a certain person come back as the Hulk. And you've got a Hulk versus Wolverine fight. Obviously, I'm not talking about Mark Ruffalo, so you can guess who I'm talking about. Do you think there's a possibility of that happening?
You talking Bana or Norton? Because Bana, I could see maybe
Norton.
I think there's no chance.
You think there's no chance he comes back as Hulk, and even if you sell him on like a Hulk versus Wolverine, make everyone happy with you again? I know he was difficult to work with. I think that was the reason they got rid of him.
No, he left on very bad terms. I think there's zero chance. He doesn't want to work with them, and I don't think they want to work with them. Was
it Red Skull's exit, Hugo Weaving's exit, a similar kind of thing initially?
Who is exit?
Wasn't it a Red Skull, Hugo Weaving? No, I thought he left on bad terms.
Because it was Hugo Weaving. I honestly don't know. Sorry, I was thinking Red Hulk, and I was like, "What do you mean?" But for Red Skull,
no, he died.
No, I believe what happened was, sorry, I was like, "What? What do you mean?"
Yeah.
But no, I believe Red Skull. So I guess, we get to plug in all kinds of things today. I got to talk to Ross Marquand, who voices Ultron in the What If stuff, but also is the Red Skull in Infinity War and Endgame. And so it was just that he was busy. And what he was doing something else and wasn't able to come in. And so they got Ross to do it.
Well, so I'm saying because of that, do you not think, because he left on bad terms initially after Captain America, right? So like,
I don't know. They were good. I don't think it was that bad. I think they were good with, I honestly, I mean, I shouldn't speculate because I honestly know nothing about that. But in regards to him not coming back for Infinity War stuff, I just know he was doing something else.
Okay, well, and so then do you think Bana, do you think that would be an option? And do you think he would? I think he would probably do it.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I honestly don't know. I'm sure Lou Ferrigno would be down to pop in there and make a funny cameo, but I honestly doubt we get a full-on Hulk versus Wolverine fight.
Because I feel like it's the only time it makes sense. Like, because they did, I don't know if Kevin Feige actually promised it to us, but I think he did promise it to us. It's like subtly. Like, I do remember him saying something about us getting a Hulk versus Wolverine, and it doesn't make sense anywhere else but in this movie.
I mean, we'll see. We don't know how long Ruffalo will hang around for.
Well, we don't know how long. I mean, I was just thinking when he said Wolverine versus Hulk, I was assuming Hugh Jackman versus somebody, right? Like I was
thinking, it could definitely still be a future Wolverine.
I was thinking Hugh Jackman. I feel like I feel like that's the best place to do it. And also, like, again, you really want to like make people feel better about, Deadpool, because there's some people who, for some reason, still think it's not going to be rated R. I don't understand why.
I would say if there's going to be a Hulk in this movie, I bet you it'll be Ruffalo.
I would have brought back someone just because, like, we love nostalgia now, right? Blue Beetle can have nostalgia, apparently. All these characters can have all these movies can have nostalgia now. So we brought back George Clooney. Why not bring back,
It's just, I think it depends on the person too. It depends what they're busy doing.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, I think the other part is like you need them for like 5 seconds, then they become a big green monster. Then it doesn't really matter who's, Bruce Banner, right? So I think there's also that part of it. But that was one which I was kind of thinking about, like, is that a possibility, that you would think is realistic? Because that would be awesome, just to add to Deadpool, give us a Hulk versus Wolverine.
I don't know. I honestly haven't thought too much about the Hulk aspect of it because they're doing so much X-Men stuff and so much. We already know of so much many different things packed into this, whether it be potential Fantastic Four, potential 838 universe tie-ins, potential Daredevil stuff. So I mean, feel like there's only so much you could do.
Well, because I still see this in the same way the Illuminati existed in Doctor Strange, which is they're going to be there and then they're going to get brutally murdered, and that'll be the end of them. Because I don't think there's going to be any real fight scene between Daredevil and Wolverine or Deadpool. It'll probably just be a, oh, look, he's blind, I'm going to kill him very quickly and it's going to be over type thing, right? Like I don't think there's good. I think some of these are just going to be,
and that, I guess that's the thing. I'm still not convinced it's going to be Deadpool killing them. I think it's going to be more so them road tripping and coming across them while the TVA tries to kill them.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I still think the TVA is going to be into people trying to save the day. Deadpool's going to be trying to mess stuff up. Is the PG-13 way to say this? But I still think, I don't know. That would be awesome though. I think that's on like the list of things. If that happened, I would lose my mind. So, I'm not against that. Speaking of things which I have no transition for this actually. How do I? It's okay. Secret Invasion happens and has happened, and I think we're halfway done the show now, right? 6 episodes.
Yeah, 6 episodes total, and we're through 3.
So, do you like? Because this is the weirdest show that Marvel's released. And the reason I say that is because of this. I would argue it's one of the best that they've made, and yet I feel like it's probably the least talked about and least, kind of publicly. And maybe it's just because I've been avoiding the conversation because I watched the episodes so late after they come out. But I feel like it's the least talked about. Even like people will talk about Marvel like in real life. It's the least talked about show, I feel like. And do you think, like, is that kind of your read on it? And do you think it is one of the best shows?
I mean, I really, really enjoyed all of them. And like, so there's been nothing to me that's like really set this one apart yet. But having said that, I really enjoy this one as well. And so it's a totally different vibe to me. It doesn't hit the same, like, I'm kind of still waiting for it to unfold before I judge it too much, because this show, is so much of a puzzle box. Like, it's so much, we don't know what the character, quote unquote, deaths that we've seen so far, what's real, what's not, who's going to come back, who's not, what they mean. And so I feel like this is one I'm having a really tough time judging critically until it's going to be done.
Right.
Outside
this is like WandaVision, really, in that sense.
Yeah, outside of just like, I'm enjoying this and I'm excited to see where it goes, kind of.
No, the one one thing I think, and I think a lot of people, I think WandaVision, this is really WandaVision part 2, and depending on how it ends, it literally could end up being that, because I think WandaVision, at least in my opinion, was really interesting. It was an interesting show. And then all of a sudden, it kind of hit the fan at the end, and kind of, I personally believe, went too far into the like extra movie-ish direction, cartoonish direction, and I think kind of ruined its setup. I don't know if that was your read, but
the thing that I'm from, like, it's a totally new genre standpoint. I agree with the WandaVision comparisons 100%, and with it's a mystery and we don't know where it's going. But the one I actually compare this show to the most is Loki. And the reason for that is every other show had a very clear purpose of taking one specific character and leading them from one spot in their lives to basically close to a actualization in a way. So Wanda became the Scarlet Witch. And that's basically the story of WandaVision was it was Wanda exploring her grief and transforming from Wanda Maximoff into the Scarlet Witch. Ms. Marvel, it was how Kamala Khan became Ms. Marvel. Moon Knight, it was not so much how Mark Spector became Moon Knight, but it was us and Stephen Grant understanding Moon Knight and getting introduced to him. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it was Falcon becoming Captain America. And every one of these shows outside of Loki had a clear, like, here's our protagonist, and they are going to become X. So Jennifer Walters will be She-Hulk by the end. So that when we plop them into other movie projects, like now we're going to see Ms. Marvel and Captain Marvel.
Right.
You know who they are. You want their origin, bam, there's where it was. Or not their origin, but how they became this way. And so Loki, it didn't have that. It was taking a character we've known for a really long time and taking them on a journey, not transforming them into something new, but almost for Loki, it was catching him back up to the character arc we've seen while introducing Kang at the end. And Secret Invasion, it's progressing the MCU story in a way that I don't think we've seen since Loki. All the other ones are progressing a character's story, but Secret Invasion, I think, is going to be progressing the MCU story, and I'm very excited to see how they do that.
Well, I think it's really more than anything progressing Captain Marvel story, like in terms of the MCU. Like I think that side of it, because I think, you know, outside of like I think the only thing where I've kind of like been like, oh my God, they actually said those words is probably the Super Skrulls thing, right? Like I think that was probably the only time where I was like, oh, look, they're doing that thing from the comics, right? But
the Super Skrulls, there were some really cool ones in episode 3 too, where they bring up Dreykov, and it's like, oh, the Skrulls were heavily involved in getting the Red Room brought down, or I guess we know from Black Widow, not totally brought down, but all that stuff, and them finding out that how they were really such a big ascension in they were so prominent in Nick Fury's ascension. That was like a big moment for me as well. But then from episode 2 was just like seeing the Super Skrull stuff on the screen, like Groot, Cull Obsidian, Extremis. That was really sweet.
Right. Yeah. Well, that, and I think, you know, obviously if we get, Super Skrull, Fantastic Four, I don't know, but if there's going to be if Fantastic Four is going to be more of a space thing, and we're going to get a villain for Fantastic Four, which is not going to be Doctor Doom, which I think they've already said plain straight up, Doctor Doom is not the villain of the first one, not the only villain at least, then I would not be surprised if the Super Skrull is the villain of the first Fantastic Four movie. I don't know, but
I think they'll probably do something more contained for it, but I honestly don't have too many speculations until
we have no more
and kind of know when or where it's set. Like it
or
could
who.
be totally different universe, or who exactly. And so that'll be interesting to see. But I kind of feel like they're gonna bring in somebody brand new for them.
I feel like Marvel's done with the one villain in a movie thing. So I think
Kang, like a version of Kang.
Well, I still think I do truly believe Marvel's done with the one villain for a movie thing, and I think you're going to see multiple villains. I think having a Super Skrull as one of the villains and playing into stories now if you're setting it up here, it feels like a logical step at some point to take, and I wouldn't be shocked at all. Like I don't think you would be either.
I think just because they separated the Super Skrull from the Fantastic Four by not having it be their powers and having it be powers of people we've seen throughout the MCU. I don't really think they're going to re-entwine that story since they started it out with this different one. You know, I think it's going to more so just be if the Skrulls are here to stay, it'll be like from more pieces of the MCU that we've seen. But I mean, hey, we see in that Secret Invasion episode where they're talking about the harvest. They couldn't find the harvest to find these more powers. So maybe there could be some Fantastic Four Easter eggs down the way still.
Well, that's happened in every show, right? We always assume the Fantastic Four are going to show up and then they don't. So, you know, I think.
Hey, I haven't once thought it since WandaVision.
So speaking of people who everyone thinks are going to show up, but it probably not going to happen. There's one character who weirdly has become the like ultimate. This person is like I've seen people who call themselves super real scooper for real on Twitter and are like, you know, say guaranteed Daisy Johnson will show up in this show in episode 3 or in episode 6 or maybe not in the show at all. On a scale of 1 to 10. What are the chances that you think she's going to show up? And you can't say 0 because it's Marvel. And
what are the chances? I'm going to give you 2 answers. I'm going to give you what are the chances and what are my hopes. My hopes are at like an 8 because I won't let them get to a 10 because I'm
Right.
not going to go full on clown mask and just go on full believer.
Yeah.
But I would say maybe a 3 in terms of
I
how
would
likely.
I don't know, because I still believe truly that Kevin Feige has a Twitter burner account, as dead as people think it is. It's not dead, because people are, still addicted, and it will happen forever. But I think Kevin Feige has a Twitter account. I think he understands where the hype's coming from, and I think he, just like us, wants to see it. And I still have enough faith that I would put it at a 5. I'm willing to say 5.
So yeah, where I lose faith as well is just like when they're doing these flashbacks. Why not bring in Coulson for the flashbacks? Why not have him tie in somewhere? If they wanted to have those ties, that was like the easiest cherry picking way to be able to do it, and they still didn't. And so that makes me think I don't know if these two stories are going to be tied together at all.
Now, if she doesn't show up in this, do you think that the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. universe is completely dead to the MCU?
Not necessarily, because this is the multiverse saga, and like we're going into the multiverse saga, and logically, I mean, that show clearly started out as MCU canon. And then as the potential for streamers developed and Disney doing their own, as well as the intense secrecy of the MCU, and on top of that, wanting to pivot away from Inhumans, 3 reasons that show kind of got completely removed from the fold. And then their story had them wind up in a bunch of different timelines. So you could just very easily say, oh yeah, they went somewhere else. And then elsewhere down the line of the multiverse saga, you bring them back in, whether it be a Secret War or hell, even a Deadpool, something like that. And so I think it's still possible. From a like, just because this is Nick Fury, we think like, oh, maybe he'll go to his old Shield allies and bring him in, and that would be really cool. But in theory, based on where they ended up in that show, it would make sense for it be a multiverse story that we see them.
I just had a thought, and I feel like Kevin Feige is a dick enough to do this, and I feel like what could end up happening is Deadpool could kill that. I know he's the only way Deadpool kills the Fox universe, but if Deadpool killed that entire team, I think there might be riots. I would be scared for like society after that.
Riots in the streets. But that's one of those things of like, that's kind of why I feel like I don't think he's going to be at odds with any of these characters. I think he's going to be more on the same side as most of them, and then going about things totally differently like he does with Colossus.
But I feel like, again, the TVA killing characters is a little bit less like, oh my God, this is so much fun. Well, first, if you have them trying to stop Deadpool from killing characters, right? Like, I think it adds a little bit more of, oh my God, this is so much fun, because it's like, I don't know, just there's a level of suspense and excitement where it's like the guy we're rooting for is killing all these characters we love so much, right? In front, like when Scarlet Witch killed the Illuminati. I think that's the word.
TBD. We'll see.
I don't know. I think there's more of a logic, but I guess we'll find out. But yeah, if Kevin Feige does that and kills Daisy Johnson on screen with Deadpool, I think there might be riots, and I would be very interested to see how the internet reacts to that. Because there would be a lot of mixed emotions. I can tell you that much. I'll have mixed emotions as my all-time favorite character killed one of my weirdly favorite characters post Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But yeah. So the other thing I had to ask you about the show before we kind of move on to the next thing is, if there's one kind of, I guess, regret you have with the way the show has gone, what would it be? And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. cannot be one of them.
Yeah, so this is another one of them that I still want to, before I judge too harshly, wait to see how the series unfolds with the next half, because the biggest one would just be the kind of not aggressive, but just like mild multiple fridging things that they've been doing with Maria Hill right off the bat.
Hill.
Oh, she's going to be
Canadian
a big
legend,
character.
by the way.
We're going to get to see more of Maria Hill than we've ever gotten to see. Well, no, she was in that last episode, the first episode, a lot. She was still, we barely got anything from her other than just saying she was disappointed in Nick. And then, boop, she was gone. So now,
and she's a mother. We learned that too.
She has a mother.
Yes, because her mother was the one who showed up at the end of that.
Sorry, I thought you said she is a mother. I was like, what?
No,
did I?
She has a mother. She has a mother.
She has a mom, exactly. And so, with that, it's just like, unless, and then obviously Gaia at the end of episode 3. Now, I don't think Gaia is dead. I think there's 0% chance Gaia is dead, or 0% Gaia is dead. Whether that be she gets brought back with, ooh, she actually got some of that extremis, and so she's good, or if they did some kind of swapperoo when the camera angle and we couldn't see her and we just saw 2 of the same people walk in different directions. Maybe they did a little bit of a sacrifice a pawn to protect the queen type of thing. Gaia knew she was made and somebody else hopped in there. Whatever it is, I don't think she's gone. And even with Maria, I think it'd be super cool if they did some kind of Winter Soldier callback and go tetrodotoxin B, slows your heart rate down. Bruce Banner developed it for stress, and Maria Hill faked her death so that they could get a couple steps ahead of the Skrulls. I could still see something like that happening as well, but if these things don't get resolved in any way, and it's just like, let's just keep having different women die so that Nick Fury can keep moving on, it would be pretty disappointing.
So I'm gonna kind of say something about your regret, and I think one of the things which I think is kind of a weird conspiracy theory to have because of the way they've kind of shown the Skrulls' powers, but also would be kind of weird, interesting if they did it. And then I'll talk about my regret. But I think the thing kind of to touch on yours is, I wonder if Skrulls can transform to other Skrulls, because I don't think they've actually mentioned that they can't.
Yeah, you'd assume that they can. Right? Like,
because there's no reason humans should be special, right? Like, if you could transform into a human, you should be. So I'm thinking, but I still think that the guy, I guess the homeless guy or whatever at the beginning of the show, right, who she brought in, I think he's the one who died and I think he was the one who, transformed into her. Because I think they're going to do a thing where they have.
That was my initial thought too, and the only plot, like the only hole in that one, is that if he died, there's no way he'd be able to control who he was transforming into after. And although we have trouble telling what Skrull is different from another Skrull when they're in Skrull form, you'd have to assume they don't have that same issue. So, like, he would have known if that wasn't her. You know what I mean?
I think the other thing they're going to do, I think we're going to see this kind of in the second half, is they're going to do a lot of like, hey, these people did turn into their regular Skrull form, but it was a delayed thing, right? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, we cut away a little bit early, right? Or, something like that. Because
I'm waiting for almost like a heist style thing. Like, you know how in Ocean's 11, it's like, all this shit's going down. You don't know how they're going to get out of it. And then after, it's like, it shows them doing all of this. I almost feel like episode 4 kind of needs to be something like that.
Yeah, Now You See Me style, or Ocean's 11.
Exactly.
Too. Same thing, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I think you're gonna be like, oh my god, look, it was this delayed because they cut interestingly where they don't. You can always argue there's a chance that as soon as they cut the camera, they become the Skrull that they were supposed to be from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be some things they'll play around with there, which could end up being bad or good. Now, my regret is actually about Nick Fury, because I think they've done a disservice to him. And the reason I say that is because the one thing we haven't really got from Nick Fury in a true form, we've gotten it kind of on the side a lot. We haven't seen the true, this is why Nick Fury is one of the most dangerous people on the planet to mess with, right? Because that's what he's portrayed as through the Avengers and through, his other kind of stuff, is this man is quite literally one of the most powerful people on the planet despite having no superpowers, right? And because you see it kind of in the way he survives, obviously the Winter Soldier stuff and all the other stuff. But I think they kind of did a disservice because they kind of said, we're going to skip past all of Nick Fury literally being one of the most powerful people on the planet. And we're going to talk about how he's like this old kind of washed up version of himself. And I'm like, we should be seeing a Nick Fury who is proving why he is Nick Fury. And I don't know. I just feel like that's something which I wish we got more, because I love that version of Nick Fury.
Well, I think that'll have to be the second half of the show, right? Like, we need for there to be an ascension, a redemption arc. They have to have that time to explain, like, well, here's why the fall happened. He was gone for 5 years, came back, everything was different. up in the air, obviously just finally feeling like for the first time there is literally nothing I could do. I could not protect us from Thanos, and being absolutely shook. I think that makes sense. But with how aggressively every other character in the show has been pointing out that same thing that you are, of like,
Yeah.
you're not the same Nick Fury. You used to be the most powerful man in the world without superpowers, 3 steps ahead of everybody. That ain't you
You
anymore.
carried a pager out for 10 years, decades, just for this one moment. Like,
yeah, and so I
is
think we're going to
unbelievable.
see some type of still like, guess what? I'm still that bad mother effer, and look what I can do.
This man literally killed Coulson and brought it back to life just to motivate the Avengers. Like, let's not. I know we don't like talking about Agent of Shield as if it was a real thing, but he did technically kill Coulson.
At that point, it was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He killed Coulson and brought it back to life intentionally, even though it was very, we can talk about the morals of it, just to motivate the Avengers. He killed somebody. Like,
and so yeah, that's one of the reasons why too that I think like, that's why one of the reasons why I think we see the lengths he would go to keep Coulson alive. We saw in Winter Soldier when he thought Nat died, how quickly he was like, no. He really cares about a few select close people. And so
that's why Maria Hill's not dead, because
I could really just see there being a chance that Maria's not dead.
Oh no, I would almost guarantee it. And what I'd say even further is I think they planned the faking of Maria's death, because again, Coulson's style, right? You needed to do something to kind of motivate people, right? Because you could see it.
We're not like, I don't think it was necessarily a motivate for this one, because I think that like screwed them over in the public eye, but it was as much of they are holding all of the cards right now. Like, we got to find a way to get a couple steps ahead of them here, and thinking our backs against the wall and are screwed is going to be our only way of doing it.
Well, I think personally that he screwed over the U.S. government intentionally to kind of get the Skulls to force them to like play their hand a little bit. And so I actually think
the U.S. government, yeah,
right. Well, because they think that Maria Hill thing was the inciting incident to the Skrulls, literally taking 17,000 steps toward their ultimate goal, right? Because they thought, oh my God, we have the upper hand now. And I think his goal was basically to get them to think that too. And so I think that motivation of them to like, okay, let's just go ahead. We're good. We're going to beat this guy. And I think that was his goal. But, we'll stay. I'm excited though.
Somebody who was like on board for Project Insight in Winter Soldier before he knew it was Hydra running it. You could see him be like, all right, if 20,000 people have to get bombed for us to win, so be it.
Well, that's the thing. And I think that mentality's changed a little bit, which is a little bit unfortunate, but at the same time, I understand character development and all this other stuff. But I am still excited, because I do think, despite the fact that I've had an issue with it so far, I do think you're right in terms of we will get that going forward. If we don't, I'm going to be dead disappointed. Like, if it turns out, nope, there is nothing, there's no secret plan behind the scenes. Like, that's the moment where it's like, your favorite GM is like, oh, no, we have no idea what we're doing. We're just kind of messing around here. We screwed your entire team. But I think that weird sports analogy, which worked.
It's giving a little bit of, we have this master spy who doesn't have any of the, like a little bit of Iron Man 3, where it's like, he doesn't have his suit, he doesn't have, whereas for Fury, he doesn't have his connections. And we get to see this tactical genius versus literal genius out there with nothing but their wits. And we get to see really what makes them them.
Yeah. And so I think we're going to get it, but we got to wait a little bit, I think, to get it. So next, speaking of things that we have to wait a little bit, and I think we're going to unfortunately probably get, James Gunn has been talking a little bit about Marvel, which feels a little bit weird now that he's done Marvel, but whatever. You keep talking, James Gunn, because it gives me something to talk about. But so I hate Star-Lord, and I hate Chris Pratt very specifically. I find him annoying. I don't like watching him on screen. I don't like any of the characters he's played. And I think he also just happens to be in some of the worst parts of the movies he's in. And he was in Jurassic World, and I still hold that to be true. So, and there was a lot of bad in that movie. So after all those strong feelings, I don't think you'd be surprised to know I am not particularly interested at all in a Star-Lord solo movie. That actually kind of makes me sick to my stomach to think that he's going to star in a movie by himself without the other Guardians.
Yeah,
what
no,
do you think of this?
that wouldn't happen, I don't think. But it's like I could see them using him as a bridge. You know, like if we get a quote unquote Star-Lord project, it would be for the reason of like, look at all these new Guardian stories, or introducing Sam Alexander as a new Nova, and Star-Lord's gonna be mentoring him. There's no way it's just like an individual Star-Lord story.
Well, I don't know. Did you saw the Gunn quote about what they were talking about, right? With the fish out of water thing. And I'm like, look, if I don't want to see him like trying to make breakfast or something. Like that's not a move. Like Marvel's done a lot of dumb things. This is not something they're stupid enough to do. I don't think. I'm hoping. But I just don't want to see any more Star-Lord. I think they've written him off perfectly, and now we never have to talk about or see Chris Pratt in the MCU again. He can go on to whatever character that James Gunn will inevitably give him, because James Gunn has this weird love for Chris Pratt, which I will never understand.
They're friends. It's as simple as that.
I guess that's enough, right? To be
it's not. It's, yeah, I don't think it's a. I don't think it's anything. I don't think it's like a. Pratt's got something on him, you know. But I think he's just friends.
Oh no, I thought James Gunn thought he's a good actor, so I was trying to understand that part of it. But you know, I So you have no appetite for like a exclusively Star-Lord solo film where he's like making breakfast and walking a dog, and you know, trying to understand why the sky becomes dark at night. Okay, good. So then we're on the same page with that one. Is there any like, do you think that there's any way to bring him back, or do you think they should just kind of let him be?
I could absolutely see him becoming an Avenger whenever they decide to do it. Like whenever the next big fight is that they all have to gather, he is now chilling on Earth, so it would make sense that he would team up on them with them.
Would you be mad if you never saw him again?
No, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was one of the best conclusions to a story possible.
So you would not be mad at all if you just never saw, and I think there's a 0% chance you never see him again, because Marvel doesn't work like that. But if he never appeared on screen, you would not be broken. Because I know there are some people who would definitely be like, where is my Chris Pratt? I want Chris Pratt. But
no, I feel like even for me personally, and just the majority of the masses, like that Guardians of the Galaxy was such a great conclusion that if they're all done, I feel like people have kind of come to terms with that. If somebody pops back in because they want to, fun. But for the most part, I feel like the majority of the masses are ready for that arc to be concluded. So
then I know you have to go soon, so we're gonna kind of wrap this up with 2 questions. Okay. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for Superman? Based on everything you've heard so far.
I've never been that attached to Superman as a character.
I hate Superman as a character. So same boat as you.
Like, it's even the same thing. I've never actually been that fond of Batman. I love basically all of the Bat family, but Batman has never really done for it. Like, I've been a Spider-Man person since birth, and that's been my number one. And then I think, like, interestingly enough, Dick Grayson, his Nightwing is probably my second favorite superhero overall. But so the character of Superman, I'm excited because I love superheroes, and I'll always go watch a Superman movie in theaters. And then the fact that, like, I'm about as excited as I think I could be for a Superman project. It looks
so.
David Cornsweet looks fantastic. Rachel Brosnahan's going to be incredible. I think
also, she looks like Lois Lane, which is a weird, unpopular opinion now. So, you know, she does look like Lois Lane. I don't know.
Yeah, I think she's going to be phenomenal. And
absolutely.
I really think this project's in great hands with James Gunn. So I'm as excited as I could be for a Superman project, I think.
So very much like you, actually, I don't love Superman as a movie, as a character. I think the closest thing to loving a Superman movie is probably that first one. The one, could argue, the template for the MCU. I think that's probably the closest I've come to like really enjoying a Superman movie, and even that I'm still a lot lower on than the majority of the people I talk to. about superheroes.
Have you
I think
have you
Spider-Man.
watched any My Adventures with Superman yet on Adult Swim?
No, I haven't.
So it's a new
I've
Superman
been
anime on Adult Swim,
yeah.
and it is a pretty phenomenal portrayal of the character.
I'm not. I mean, everyone keeps telling me that I have to watch it. I'm still my dislike for Superman. I don't know if it'll go to the far enough that I won't watch any of it at any point. But I also don't like TV shows, so I
Mhm.
don't love because I don't have the attention span to watch like something like as a TV show. But because that's like a lot of commitment that I can't do with something, so I don't do TV shows generally. That being said, will I eventually watch an episode? Probably.
And it's one of
But
those
my
things too.
Superman,
Like if you just don't like Superman, you don't have to. But if it's one of those things that it's like I want to see a good portrayal of Superman, then it's a phenomenal place to go.
I'm just not running to see it because I don't, there's like a certain level of like, okay, it's gonna come out, but I'm also not like, oh, I'll never watch this. I'm just somewhere in like if maybe one day if I have some time and I'm bored, I'll watch it, but I'm not gonna run out to see it. I guess is what kind of my mindset. Um, But I think the thing for me for Superman will really be a deciding factor. The deciding factor is going to be two things. One, and as a YouTube short, which ended up getting 2,000 views because I yelled and swore a lot. I said that they better not see the Lex Luthor or Zod as like the main villains, and so that's still something which is a deciding factor because I don't want to see Lex Luthor or Zod be the main villain of a Superman movie. And Superman has so many it's such a huge rogues gallery, and we've only seen really two villains and Doomsday, I guess, but I don't count that. And also, I want more of a reporter side of Superman, like doing his job as a reporter and doing the investigative reporting stuff and solving his kind of getting through the movie, like with that part of his character being important.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I don't know, like, I don't know. I think it's important to find a balance of like, with maybe don't dedicate too much screen time to reporter stuff while also making sure it's a very important emphasis in the story. Like, I like not that I don't want to see it. I absolutely want to see it, but at the same time, it's like if I'm going to see Superman, I want to see cool Superman stuff. And so it's finding that balance. But I agree with you. I'd want it to be a major part of the story. And then get rid of Zod. We don't need any Zod. And Lex, have him be there, have him be a
Yeah.
presence, but not have him be the main villain. You do some Brainiac, do some Bizarro, whatever you want.
Mitzelplick.
Yeah, there's lots of different options you can have here. I do gotta bounce out basically right away though. It's my wife has a soccer game that I promised her I'd go to. So
So literally last question before you leave, and is this, and it's like a name, so it's not going to take you very long to answer. What movie makes more money opening day, Barbie or Oppenheimer?
Barbie,
Opening weekend, sorry, weekend, yeah.
Barbie.
Okay.
Oppenheimer
Overall,
has
same
this
thing?
guaranteed long theatrical IMAX contract. It's going to be in theaters for a very long time, for like 3 months. And so that movie, I think, is going to get I don't think it was too worried about opening weekend box office. They're more concerned about the awards and the longevity. So I could see Mission Impossible, Barbie both kind of outperforming Oppenheimer to start, and then have it really just have some legs and last for a while.
Week 2, Mission Impossible outperforming Oppenheimer might be a hot take too. Damn.
No, Mission Impossible is going to crush both of them, I think.
Week 2, Mission Impossible? Like you're saying that weekend it's going to be the third movie?
Yeah, like I still think Mission Impossible might be outperforming it next weekend.
Oh, I think Barbie's gonna get to $1 billion.
I meant from
really fast.
sorry, I meant like as their like opening weekend versus opening weekend. But
I thought you meant out that weekend.
Even so, I think they'll be comparable.
I think Barbie's gonna hit $1 billion before either Mission Impossible or Oppenheimer. So that's my hot take. But
we'll see.
Thank you again for coming on.
I would love it if it does. I would love it if it does. I'm cheering for it too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not for various reasons. Not in the way of I don't like it, but for other reasons. Fantasy movie league stuff. Anyways, so with that being said, thank you so much for agreeing to come on. I know you have to go, so I'm not gonna keep you longer than this, but it was great to have you on. It was very fun to talk to another Canadian who actually likes superheroes, not a shot at my co-host, I promise. But yeah, no, it's fun to talk. And I hope everyone enjoyed it.
Yeah,
And
thanks so
tell
much
everyone where they can
for
check you out, even though you've
thanks
told
so
them
much for
already.
having me on. It was a lot of fun. I really appreciate the kind words. It was I'm really glad we got to chat. And yeah, you can find me. I believe my tags up on the screen here at TJ_Warich5. And then the Agents of Fandom are on all the socials at Agents Fandom on Twitter and TikTok, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. We got 5
and the website's
podcasts
in the description. So
yeah,
you can just look at that too.
That's true. Yeah. 5 podcasts out right now. The Agents of Fandom podcast, where we cover MCU and Star Wars stuff. Ticket to Reality, where we cover reality TV. Cinema Sibs, where host Rachel Leishman and her brother chat about movies that were really important to their childhood and review them as if they were new. Fandom Academy, where is our younger squad, Layla, CJ, Jaden, in their late teens, early 20s, covering things from a different angle than us old heads in like me in our 30s do things. So as well as the Listen 3000 podcast, where Caesar and Zen really do a ton of great stuff as well. So we got lots of fun stuff popping. Make sure you check it out.
As a 20-year-old, you can know exactly what my favorite show is, but
yeah,
anyways.
exactly. The Fandom Academy one might be the one for you.
It is absolutely. But I absolutely love your stuff, and you guys have been killing it. And but we've got to do this again at some point too. I'm gonna drag you back on Kiki and Scream at some point, I'm sure. So
Sounds good. Let's do it.
And have fun at your wife's soccer game, and we'll talk eventually.
Sounds good. Talk soon. Make sure to tag me in all this stuff. And yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Nice I'm going to tag you endlessly to the point where you're going to probably want to block me after. It's going to be great.
Perfect.
Yes.
Well, yeah, no, as I have these periods where I'm on my phone and I see everything, and then I try and just like log off for hours at a time and I ignore everything. So I'll always catch it when I'm in one of those periods that I'm on.
So you'll get bombarded with notifications. When
exactly.
You
exactly.
So. It was great talking to you. I'll let you go. I'm not done talking, or I'm going to add some stuff on later to the video, or the podcast. But yeah, thank you for watching or listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Have a good one.
And now I'm alone, and it's still recording. These are the wonderful things about until Skype is fixed. Anyways, that was the main portion of the show. I don't know how to get rid of the blur. I want to get rid of it, but I don't know how to use this stupid thing because Skype isn't working still. Anyways, I just needed to stick around to plug some things, and plugging things is what I do. So we just finished our first social media giveaway. Follow us at @comicboys_. I don't know. I don't actually use my Instagram anymore as of last week. So, that's probably not useful for you. I mean, I'll come back eventually, but right now I'm not. So follow us on social media, and we're going to have some more guests are planned. I'm going to probably do some batch recording stuff. The new episode of No Doubt comes out on Wednesday, and the old episode of No Doubt came out last Wednesday. No Doubt is one of our shows, secondary shows. We're going to have a third show coming up. I'm excited to make that announcement with some people. I've got another show coming. So, because I love talking. But yeah, other than that, thank you all for watching. You probably already turned it off, but if you haven't, thank you. And we'll subscribe, follow us on social media, and do all that stuff. And we'll see you next time. Bye.